I Dream of Jeannie was a fantasy sitcom that starred Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman. The show aired for 139 episodes over 5 seasons, from 1965 to 1970. The show followed NASA astronaut Tony Nelson, who is stranded on a desert island after his spacecraft malfunctions when he finds a strange bottle, and he inadvertently releases a beautiful genie. Jeannie is more than 2,000 years old, and she can materialize objects or control any situation with the blink of an eye. Overly eager to please her new master, Jeannie gets Tony into countless improbable dilemmas once back home in Florida. Larry Hagman was a longtime alcoholic and openly admitted that he was drunk in many of the episodes of I Dream of Jeannie. Barbara Eden wrote in her 2011 book, Genie Out of the Bottle, Larry himself has made no secret about the fact he was taking drugs and drinking too much during filming, and he had regrets about how that impacted him. Hagman could also be very hard to work with, and because of that, producers seriously considered replacing him with another actor. Darren McGavin was at the top of the list to replace Hagman. They even had a storyline ready to go that saw Tony losing Jeannie and then McGavin finding her. Despite this, the studio executives liked Hagman much more than the producers did, so he was never replaced. Larry Hagman said there was a point during the show where he wanted to quit because he felt the scripts were becoming repetitive. Sidney Sheldon, the show's creator, advised him he could not quit because at that time, to quit a successful show would get you the reputation of being difficult to work with, and he would never work as an actor again. So since he couldn't quit, he decided to demand more money, $5,000 more per episode. At first he was told no, but he kept insisting, and finally was able to get it. He also insisted they bring in new writers, and that happened as well. Tony Nelson was in the Air Force, and his best friend Roger Healy was in the Army. This accurately reflected the experience of the actors too, Larry Hagman having served in the Air Force, and Bill Daly having served in the Army during the Korean War. The very same day that the pilot sold, Barbara Eden found out she was pregnant. After battling infertility for nearly 7 years, she had every intention of quitting the new show to have her baby. She insisted on seeing Sidney Sheldon so she could break the news, but he was convinced that no one else would be as good in the part, so he insisted they would make it work. They were able to film 10 more episodes in addition to the already completed pilot before Eden took leave to have her baby. In recent years, Barbara Eden said that never before or since did she work with an actor that she had such a connection and rhythm with as Larry Hagman. There was an effortlessness acting with him that she never had with anyone else. In real life, Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman had some things in common. They were born just 1 month apart in 1931. Their mothers were also pretty young when they were born, with both of them being under the age of 18 when they gave birth. Barbara Eden personally selected the pink and maroon color combination of Jeannie's harem outfit. Pink symbolized the playful, girlish aspects of her personality, while maroon symbolized the fiery, headstrong side. Eden also selected the purple trim that could be seen on her bottle. In a few early color episodes, Jeannie wore a green outfit instead of her customary pink. In another episode, she changes her hair color to black in an attempt to convince Tony to keep her. The green outfit and black hair color would later become trademarks of Jeannie's evil twin sister, who tries to steal Tony from her in the 3rd season. The fancy antique bottle, which Jeannie called home, was actually a decorative Jim Beam liquor decanter, which originally contained Beam's Choice Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. The bottle was decorated and painted with gold leaf by one of the show's art department employees. The famous I Dream of Jeannie theme music, written by Hugo Montenegro, was never used during Season 1. That season was syndicated with the rest of the series, so few people had seen it before it was released on DVD. Some of the background music in the black and white episodes used jazz-influenced cues, but other times it sounded like a cartoon soundtrack. The color episodes used pop-influenced background music, some of which was also used on the TV series Gidget, as both shows had the same music supervisor. All of the characters on the show drive Pontiacs. Did you notice that? The only exception is the General, who drove a Cadillac convertible in the series finale. All of Tony's cars were convertibles, except for in the final season. In the early years, he drove a GTO. The rest of the series, from 1968 onward, it was a Bonneville. Roger Healy drove a pale yellow Pontiac Firebird 400 convertible, and Dr. Bellows drove a Le Mans wagon, and later a Bonneville hardtop. The decision to have Tony and Jeannie get married in Season 5 was made by the network, hoping a change would improve the ratings. Barbara Eden speaks often about how much she disagreed with the decision, and the entire cast hated the idea too. She didn't like the idea of Jeannie, who was not human, marrying, because it felt impossible. And with Jeannie becoming a typical housewife instead of a genie, the opportunities for comedy just weren't there anymore. Also, the tension that drove the show was now gone, and there was no longer the question, will they or won't they? And in Eden's opinion, once they married, the show had just become a clone of Bewitched. According to Barbara Eden, network executives and censors were not concerned about her belly button being seen. That is until someone casually mentioned it during the 3rd season. Occasionally, her navel became visible when the waistband of her costume shifted. After that was pointed out, her belly button was required to be covered up at all times. There were also other rules the show had to follow. The chiffon bottom of her costume needed to have an extra layer added so her legs couldn't be seen through it. Also, during all of the scenes that took place in the bedroom, Tony and Jeannie were not allowed to end the scene with both of them still in the room. One or both of them had to be shown leaving the bedroom, and if Jeannie blinked out of the room, they had to make sure to show her smoke trail leaving through the door. This was all to imply that nothing inappropriate was happening between Tony and Jeannie, ever. This also meant that Jeannie's bottle was never allowed to be in Tony's bedroom, because that would subtly indicate something might be going on. It's pretty amazing how different this thinking is from the network TV of today. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and consider subscribing and sharing Recollection Road Entertainment with someone you know. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching this playlist. As always, thank you so much for watching.